Right, let's see what's going on in the Facebook fragrance groups today. Wow, a nearly full 120ml bottle of Millesime Imperial for only 100 quid. Oh, God, I gotta have it. I haven't got any money though, I'm skint. What's that, darling? Sorry? No, I'm a bit busy to feed the cat at the moment. Sorry. Hang on. No, sorry. Yeah, no, all right, I'll do it. Yeah, no problem. No problem. But by the way, I was just wondering the other day. Did you say Tiddles is a pedigree cat? Yeah, right. No, no reason. No reason. Just wondering. Sorry for the delay in reviewing Gorse by Laboratory Perfumes. I've procrastinated, I've prevaricated, and but now here I am with the review, so let's get stuck into it. I've entitled the video Virgin Island Water versus Gorse, but really it's a review of Gorse with an eye on the fact that it is very similar to Virgin Island Water. And here are the notes for both fragrances. First of all, Gorse by Laboratory Perfumes. The company don't give us a traditional note listing, so I'm going to read out their description on their website. Here we go. A crisp and invigorating top note of citrus leading into the delightful coconut hit of the gorse flower and a spicy suggestion of cardamom. It's summer in a scent. So now on to Virgin Island Water by Creed. Notes on that one. Top notes are bergamot, lime and coconut. In the mid we have jasmine, hibiscus, ylang ylang and ginger, and in the base we have tonka musk and tropical woods. Now I've taken a lot of those notes from Creed's website, and I know some of the other listings do also list cane sugar and rum as base notes, so bear that in mind. So here we go, the presentation on Gorse. I forgot to do the box first. So really nice box. It reminds me of Acqua di Parma boxes, which have that tubular design, and I'll just try and grab one now. Yeah, the Acqua di Parma Blue Mediterraneo or Colonia lines all have the same kind of tubular design, which I think is pretty snazzy, looks fine, pretty simple, minimalist, and that's the theme with these guys. They're called Laboratory Perfumes. Now let's look at the bottle. This is really clever. Okay, so it looks like a beaker or measuring cylinder of some kind in a laboratory, and it's 100 mils here, and it's even got the numbers on there for the mils, which has a lovely design feature with the laboratory theme, but it's also practical because you know exactly how much you've got left. It's a pretty minimalist design, but it's good, it's well done, and I really like it. Presentation fantastic, and the colour of the liquid is a very light yellow. Let's spray some on my left hand and I'll tell you what I get. I've been wearing it 2, 3, 4 days in the last week, so I'm getting pretty familiar. And I've worn it a few times from the sample I had before. Okay, so a really lovely fresh burst when you spray it, and basically the first impression you get is sweet citrusness. So it's a citrus, natural smelling citrus opening, a bit like an eau de cologne, but before very long, even within a few seconds, a little bit more spiciness and herbalness comes through, and a sweetness, which at first you think is just the citrus being a sweet kind of citrus aroma. But actually it's that note of gorse. Now gorse is a flower or plant that grows in England and other parts of the world and has a smell that is like coconut. Okay, so we're just really going to think of the gorse note as like a coconut. So that is the note that you get. Coconut, lemon and or lime. It's a bit like opening a 7-Up, the drink 7-Up, which is lemon and lime, because that's got sweetness, it's got lemon and it's got lime. In this case the sweetness comes from coconut. It's exquisite, it's really well done, it's nicely blended, it smells very natural. I talked about Bulgari Acqua Amara in the last review, that's a really good scent, but it smells a little bit more like a designer, maybe tiny bit generic, not natural kind of citrus. I really like it, don't get me wrong, it projects well and it really cuts through the air. Max 40 said it's a little bit headache inducing. I can see what he means about Acqua Amara. I don't get that from it myself, but I can see how some people would. In this case, there's no chance of that because it's extremely smooth, fresh citrus with a little bit of a tropical feel from that coconut, and maybe some other things, sort of plants that one might find walking around, maybe in France or even in England if we're lucky to have some nice weather and things are blooming. Shrubs and heathers, the kind of thing if you're walking down a country lane on a nice summer evening when the sun is still up, but the absolute highest heat of the day's gone down a bit, and perhaps there's just a light breeze and you're getting little wafts of some of those plants around you all mixed together. So they've listed only 3 notes in this one: citrus, cardamom and gorse, but I think there's more to it than that, but I couldn't actually get from the company a breakdown of the notes. I did try. We don't know who the perfumer is either. So what this smells like is a walk out somewhere nice, outdoors in Europe, where there's some plants around you in the summer. It's really well done. It's a great citrus scent. It's a great scent for people who don't want just a straight up eau de cologne, because the coconut's a bit more interesting. It's a bit fun and playful, but not so much so that you couldn't wear it to work. I don't think it could be a real workhorse for you. The price for this one is only £60 for 100ml, and that's a great price for a niche product, and they are a niche house. It's an English house. Excellent value for money. I don't see it being discounted anywhere very much yet, but that may happen at some point. But frankly, at this price, it is very reasonable. It's less than some designer fragrances. I guess equivalent to a lot of designer fragrances. Well worth the money. Now let's compare it to the one that some people have mentioned that it smells like. And they're not kidding either. It's Virgin Island Water by Creed, which I only have a small decant of, because I like this fragrance from Creed, but it has a really bad reputation for having poor performance, poor longevity. I like the smell of it, but there are more exciting ones for me from Creed, so I've never bought a full bottle, but I did borrow from a fragrant friend a sample. Now this one, it opens again with a fresh citrus blast. I get on this one a little bit more of a sort of thicker sweetness. Maybe that's the rum note. You don't get any mention of rum in Gorse, but people talk about rum in Virgin Island Water. And they talk about sugarcane too. So it's a little bit more of a deep, rich citrus blast, and maybe a slightly sharper green lime. But I'm really, I'm digging in there to try and notice these differences. And it really is, and I've done this many times on one hand or 2 bits of paper, comparing them on different parts of my body. And they're very similar after a little while. There is a little bit of a difference in the opening, so I'll describe the difference in the opening. Very smooth, soft citrus with a little bit of herbalness. That's the Gorse. Virgin Island Water, again very nice citrus, but a little bit deeper and richer smelling, and I get more of a slightly more thick sugary note, and just a slightly sharper green kind of lime note. They're a little bit more sharp. This one's a little bit smoother, sharper, smoother. I've worn them a lot this week, and every time I've worn Gorse as my scent of the day, I've had this maybe on one arm here just to compare it. As time goes by, they get so similar that we're just nitpicking to pick the differences.
Oh, that's nitpicking, isn't it?
After a while, when they dry down, they smell basically the same. If you're a real fragrant expert and you've got a great nose, maybe you could dig in there and get some differences. I was racking my brains all week trying to think how I would describe the difference between the two after time goes on. And in the end, I just realised if I did that, I would just be bullshitting. I can't tell any difference. It might be a bit like comparing a Coca-Cola with a Pepsi. In other words, they taste incredibly similar. If you had to put them one next to the other, maybe you could probably detect a difference, but could any of us really say what it is? What's different about a Coke and a Pepsi? What note is different in that flavour? It's the same here.
Okay, so here comes a new feature where we're going to get some opinions from my fragrant friends around the world. So first up is Patrick from the United States. I knew he owned it, so I asked him for his opinion. Here's what he says. Gorse's Special has 2 notes only listed, citrus and cardamom. Initial spray gives you a blast of citruses which lasts a minute or 2 before it transforms and morphs into something similar to Creed's Virgin Island Water coconutty vibe. It is sweet, fresh and sometimes a little spicy. A hidden gem in frag world that not many know. It is warm and inviting and a crowd pleaser in my collection. Lasts average on my skin for about 6 to 7 hours and projection goes about 1 to 2 hours, perfect for spring and summer. And here's what my friend James from the fragrance community here in London says. just missing a bit of lime, I think, but if someone sold it to me as Virgin Island water, I would believe them. I do have a couple of decants of Virgin Island water, but not the bottle. He then went on to say, just sprayed some on my arm. It's possibly the closest clone I've ever tried. These are not the kind of people who would say nice things just to be nice. They wouldn't hold back in saying if something wasn't good. So I was reassured that they generally agreed with me. And now back to my review.
They're as near as damn it the same once they dry down, except for one thing. And this is the big one. The Gorse lasts longer, and I think it projects for longer too. I've worn it out with a fragrant friend for a day out, a female fragrant friend, and she was taking whiffs of me. Really great to get that feedback because I always have a lot of trouble judging projection longevity on myself. And this lasted a good 6 hours. After that, it was time to do something else. I think we did some exercise or something, and I had a wash. So I don't know past that, but you're getting a good 6 hours. Probably, it didn't seem on the brink of dying out. So I would say a good 6 to 8 hours is realistic to expect on the Gorse. On the Virgin Island water, after a couple of hours, you're really digging in to smell it at all. And the wafts from it are not very good throughout the day. And everyone else has spoken about that. Virgin Island water, then, performance has to be categorised in the poor category. Lovely scent though. Gorse smells almost exactly the same after a few minutes. And it has at least medium performance. I don't know if I'd quite, it's pushing towards good, but I think I would call it a medium, acceptable, decent performer. Longevity is quite nice, and I definitely got some really good projection around me in the first hour or two. The person I was with said I was really pushing out a lot of strong wafts of this fragrance. I did spray quite heavily. I wouldn't be shy about putting 8, 9 sprays of this on even in the daytime. I'd whack some on the clothes. It is a light citrus scent. It's not going to annoy anybody. Help yourself out a bit and spray reasonably heavily when you use Gorse. So Gorse, to summarise, smells a hell of a lot like Virgin Island water. If you can't test Gorse out and get a sample, try it out. Try out Virgin Island water. You know they're going to smell pretty similar. And in my humble opinion, the performance is going to be significantly better on Gorse. This is a decent, okay performer. Almost quite good, I think. You know, it's pretty decent for the type of scent it is. So a good performer compared to the poor performer Virgin Island water. The actual range from this company, there are 4 of them, and they're all priced the same, £60 for 100ml. The only way you can sample them that I'm aware of is you get this pack from the company, and it's £15 in the UK for 4 very small samples, and they're dabbers. And I don't think that's a particularly great deal. These are the kind of quantities in the sample that you would get given free in a shop if you were getting a designer perfume. So I wouldn't be very keen to rush out and buy that for £15. I think my sister bought it for me for a present at that price, which is very nice for her. But I don't think that's a great deal to get to know the line, and that maybe they should think about a better way of getting their product out there to people to try, because it's not very easy to find in the shop. So we do need these samples, but £15 for 4 fairly puny sized dabber, you know, splash samples, that's not great. Maybe they could improve on that or do something about that. The overall line though is really good, and I'd encourage people to check the others out. They're all quite nice and they're all different, and they're quite unique, each one, except Amber does smell a lot like Aventus from what I remember. I used my sample up pretty quickly, but I don't think it's a clone, but it's in the same ballpark. So worth checking out the line. A great, relatively new fragrance company from the UK. Gorse by Laboratory Perfumes for me gets a nice big 8.5 out of 10. I'm really going to use this. I'd use it in the springtime, I'd use it in the summertime, I'm going to still use it in the daytime in the fall, and I might even use it in the winter. You could use it on nights out, why not? It doesn't really give a hey wow look at me type of effect, but it will smell very nice and refined and elegant, crisp and fresh and likeable. So you could wear it on a date. If someone gets up close to you, they are going to like the way you smell when you wear this. Fine for a date, fine for a night out, even better and more definitely a good one for any kind of daytime situation, be it casual or work.
So that's the end of the review. Thank you very much for watching. Look out for my next review. That's going to be Neroli Sauvage by Creed, coming up really soon. And remember, whatever we're doing in life, let's project. Goodbye.